Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. So excited you are here to join us. So we are here for the not the normal Social Pulse Weekly. We're here for a little bit of breaking social media news that occurred earlier this week. 2 days ago, Facebook made an announcement, and we want to make sure you're clear and you understand how this is going to impact any kind of ads you do for 2021. With that said, I'm going to bring on let me actually pull up the banner for his official name, Antonio Calero. He is our Senior Paid Acquisition Manager at AgoraPulse. He is the one that brought all of this to our attention and already has a plan out for AgoraPulse, but we want to make sure that you also have a plan when everything goes into place. So to set the framework of exactly what is going on, back in June of this year, basically Apple came out with an announcement that iOS 14, they were going to have an app tracking transparency framework. Basically, it's requiring apps to show a prompt of basically what they're going to use with the data. It's supposed to protect you as a user, right, with your Apple products, and make sure that you're okay and understand fully how your data is going to be used within these apps. The thing is, when you're running ads and doing other things, people may see that prompt and opt out of it. So you're not going to get, it could hurt ads, impact in different sort of ways. So we want you to fully understand how it could impact you and how Facebook is going to try and give you the tools that you need so you understand what's going to happen and how you can still be successful with your ads. But one of the things that they came out with, now this was 2 days ago, was their aggravated event measurement. And so they're going to introduce this to support measurement of web events from the iOS 14 users once Apple requires the ATT prompt. Now, it is designed to help you measure campaign performance in a way that is consistent with consumers' decisions about their data. So with that said, before we go any further, I kind of want to open it up to Antonio so he can relay a little bit more information of exactly what is going to happen, what people are going to see when they get this prompt, and how it could impact ad performance and everything else. So go ahead, Antonio.
Thank you, Jennifer. I think you've described the whole thing very clearly, so I think my time here is over. Nearly. Describe everything as it's about to happen. A big impact coming our way, and everyone weighs on Facebook. As you said, this is something that Apple announced back in June 2020. Probably the worst timing because June, many people are going on holidays. It's probably low season for advertising, and it created some mayhem, and people were wondering, okay, Facebook, what's going to happen now? Is it going to affect me? Is it going to be just for iOS users, for everyone? For example, the breakdown in the US at the moment is 60% iOS versus 40% Android, but UK, for instance, is 50-50. Other markets, there's more Android than iOS, so people were wondering, how is it going to affect me? Is it going to affect me that much or no? And Facebook was just providing little pieces of information, but not being very clear. And finally, days ago, they made a big announcement, but it's still not super clear. So there's still some bits and pieces open to interpretation. The first thing that people are interpreting is, again, is this something that is going to affect just iOS targeted users or everyone? From the Facebook release, it seems that it's going to be something that they're going to be rolling out globally for everyone, for just Facebook advertising, okay? Regardless if you target just Android users or Apple users. That's the feeling. But again, we could probably later provide the comments or some way provide the access to the Facebook release. They are not mentioning this in a clear way, so I may be wrong. So basically, it means, like you said, that any app that is available on the iOS App Store, like Facebook itself, but also your browser, like could be Google Chrome, could be Instagram, could be WhatsApp, could be any other app from the Messenger, okay? So it will have a pop-up that looks quite scary. It's not the typical fluffy pop-up about, we have cookies in this website, do you agree? And yeah, whatever, everyone clicks the I accept cookies because who cares? This is quite dramatic. It says, this app uses your data to show you in the future and not to show you ads to third-party users. So not just for us, we're going to be sharing this information with third. So it sounds very, very scary. In reality, this is something that has been happening for ages. All our data, and it's not my home address, it's not my phone number, it's just my cookies. But in the way that Apple is showing this information looks or sounds scary. So what happens? It makes sense that most people, when they see that pop up, they're gonna opt out. They're gonna say, just with a click of the button, they're gonna say, not interested, I don't want to share my data. Which means it's gonna block or reduce the efficiency of advertising. And that's gonna be dramatic especially for small and medium businesses. If you are Coca-Cola or you are like a Volkswagen, who cares? You have huge budgets, you do branding advertising, you run ads on TV. But if you're a local store, medium, small business, and you're relying on custom audiences and tracking your conversions, this is going to affect you a lot, because you won't be able to track this information. So that's going to happen early 2021. Apple is going to be releasing this iOS 14, they said, I think in January. And Facebook is saying early 2021. They are not saying when is early. That's part of the Facebook release. They are not very specific. But I guess will be probably as soon as January. And they're going to be implementing a lot of changes.
And so I think, which a lot of people aren't sure, and all they see is like just different headlines in the news and, different lawsuits and how Facebook's been maybe in trouble with the government or people investigating that sort of scenario. And so I think the average user is scared. And like you said, if they get a prompt like that, they are likely to just be like, well, I don't want any of that to happen, even though it's already been happening, like you said, for ages, and they're just not going to allow it. So I guess one of the biggest things for marketers, for social media managers and businesses right now, what can they do immediately to start prepping for this once it's initiated and turned on and people start getting that prompt?
Look, Facebook cannot do anything about that prompt, and they expect most people think about normal user behavior. Most people are going to probably opt out because, like I said, that message sounds very, very scary. So Facebook has released a package of functions or implementations that they need to be followed in order to as much without losing traceability of your conversions. First thing, probably the most important one, is Facebook will allow only 8 pixels conversions, custom conversions, events, these kind of things. They are not being very specific about if those 8 events include custom conversions or custom conversions are independent. I'm mentioning custom conversions because custom conversions are not a piece of script. Okay, the pixel is the script, and then custom conversion is basically a URL where you have that script, that pixel, and you are telling Facebook, whenever someone visits this URL, a custom conversion happens. So they're not very specific about if custom conversions form part of those 8 events or not. Let's assume it is. So for the moment, Facebook is recommending you need to decide which 8 events you're going to be tracking. If you are like a small business, probably it's enough to have a few events. But let's say you have a small e-commerce, but you are tracking add to cart or visit a page, add to cart, add payment information, initiate checkout, purchase, blah, blah, blah. You're already consuming 5 or 6 events. Do you really need all of them? Because remember, Facebook will be ignoring more than 8. What's going to happen in any existing campaigns that are optimizing for any of those other events? Let's say you decide on your 8 main events, and you have another events that you've been using for a long time. You have campaigns running, ads running. Those will automatically stop. They will stop running. Okay, so it's very important before that date. Again, that date that no one knows when it is going to happen, early 2021. You need to decide on those 8 events. And then anything else, move it to those 8 events. For example, for us at Agora Pulse, we don't have just the lead event. We have a specific leads for specific things we want to track. We probably need to merge all those leads into one single lead event to avoid those campaigns from stopping. And so that's something important. More to this, it's not just enough to have 8 events. We need to prioritize those events. You need to inform Facebook what's going to be the most important event and the least important event. Because when it comes to reporting, only one action per user. In a sense, imagine you are an e-commerce and you're tracking 3 events: add to cart, initiate checkout, and purchase. Okay, those 3 events. If your main event is purchase, you could assume that every user completing a purchase will go through all those 3 events. Facebook will report only on the purchase, or that's what they've been saying on that news release, okay? Even if they have complied with the previous 2 events. However, if you say, look, my main event is gonna be the add to cart or the add payment information, you won't be seeing the other 2 events. So that's something to take in consideration as well. So remember, 8 events only. Anything that is not in those 8 events will be stopped automatically, and you need to prioritize because only the main event will be reported. What's gonna happen as well because people are wondering, yeah, but Apple is saying that they're not gonna provide this information. So Facebook said that they're gonna statistically estimate those missing conversions. I don't know how they're gonna do that. I don't know based on which information, because they cannot have the information from Apple. Probably based on you're a new advertiser, no one knows what's gonna happen. The thing is that Facebook says that if they are guessing, basically, let's say you have 100 conversions, but Facebook will tell you, look, from these 100 conversions, 40 are real, the other 60, we estimate. We think is based on something, those conversions have happened, but you don't know for sure if they have happened or not. That's what we all understand from that news release.
And I love that, Antonio. And I love the clarification, because I think that, it's confusing for people to fully understand, okay, so what do we need to do right now? What's going to happen down the road? And do you, Antonio, think this is really going to be a significant impact with the money spent in different ways of measuring how well our ad traffic and everything else does?
That's an excellent question, Jennifer, because there's another big thing coming up our way, and it's reporting, especially the attribution model. In the past, Facebook allowed, Facebook default is 28 days post-click, which means that you click on an ad, you go to a website, maybe you don't convert, but then you have 28 days after you click on an ad that if you convert on that website, Facebook will consider that conversion coming from that click. And 1 day post-view. That means that you see an ad, you don't click on an ad, but that ad is displayed to you. If you convert within that day, Facebook considers that a conversion. That's the default attribution window. You can change that in many other ways. And you can eliminate completely the 1 day attribution window. You can do any other way. So Facebook will be deprecating the 28-day post-conversion, 28-day post-view, and 7-day post-view attribution models. So those won't be available anymore. What means? It means that your number of conversions will be automatically be reduced because now 28-day window. Now that window, the maximum length of that window is 7 days. So that's gonna be automatically affecting the impact of your conversions. For example, for us, I was checking before for Agora polls, in a specific time frame, I'm not gonna say which conversion, I'm not gonna say which time frame, but I saw 1,660 conversions for a 28-day attribution window. The exact conversion, exact time frame, but with a 7-day post-click attribution window, we got just 1,000. We lost 600 conversions out there. It's important to calm people down in the sense that this is not going to affect your business. It's going to affect just the way you track that information. Those conversions for us, they're still happening in the back end, which means now more than ever, it's super important to have UTMs in your URLs to track this information in different ways. Now you need to decide how important it is for me to consider conversions past those 7 days. It's important, it's not important, but be aware that your number is going to be reduced. Another thing you could do, and Facebook is recommending this, is compare historical data. So like I said, okay, for this particular time frame, I'm losing 40% of conversions. Did that happen in the previous month, and so on? And so now you could see a pattern. Okay, most of my months, most of my weeks, I see a loss of 40%. Then in the future, when you have just that 7-day attribution window, you do the opposite math, and you think, okay, I'm having 100 conversions, I add an extra 40%, and that would be the probably conversion window, the number of conversions of a 28-day attribution window. It's, again, playing with math, playing with the guess game. I think probably would be a much better idea to assume that that's going to be the future and work with a 7-day attribution window. And stop benchmarking against yourself with the previous year, with 2020, 2019, because remember, those attributions were 28 days, now it's going to be seven days. So again, not affecting your business, but affecting the way you perform on ads, or you report that information.
And I think that's key, because, and it's something that you can help educate executives. If you're reporting numbers up to someone that isn't fully aware of what's going on, Antonio is giving you all the advice and information so you can do that. And they fully understand that you can't use 2020 and 2019 as comparisons or benchmarks or anything moving forward once this is implemented within certain aspects. And talking about dynamic ads specifically, Antonio, what do people need to just keep in mind when focusing on that?
Well, Facebook said that you shouldn't be so concerned about dynamic ads. Let's remind quickly what dynamic ads are. Basically, you have big e-commerce. So people are visiting your e-commerce and buying brown shoes. And then you could retarget these people, say, look, you bought brown shoes. Why don't you buy a brown belt as well, or a brown tie, because they match? So it's a great opportunity to upsell or cross-sell or even retarget people. But instead of having, like, you are a big e-commerce and you have like 1,000 articles, you cannot create 1,000 retargeting campaigns. It will be time consuming. That's why dynamic ads are very powerful. You visited that product, you buy, then I'm going to retarget additional products. You didn't buy, I'm going to retarget this product. And that runs kind of in autopilot. You need to upload a feed. So that's really, really powerful. Now, people were getting concerned because they thought, what's going to happen with my dynamic ads campaign? Facebook said that there's not much you need to do, apart of a couple of things. One is verify the URL in the catalog feed is unique, in the sense that all those things we mentioned before about the 8 conversions and so on are per domain. So if your company has 3-4 domains, each of those domains will have those 8 conversions. Facebook also recommends to verify your domain. Verifying your domain is something very simple you need to do in Business Manager. And it's basically informing Facebook that Facebook will give you a specific code that you need to upload into your hosting application, and then Facebook will know that you own that domain. That will allow you to, when you are uploading a link, for instance, you could change the thumbnail of that link, you could change the headline, and so on. Because technically speaking, anyone could advertise to your domain. I could be running an ad towards one of our competitors, but then I could be cheating and showing a bad image, and that will be bad for them. So verifying a domain is very important for you to say, okay, this is my domain, I own this domain, and I'm going to be the only one advertising in this domain and this page. So when it comes to dynamic ads, Facebook recommends to verify your domain, because after that, it recommends all your feed to show your real domain, in the sense that it's not recommended to have articles in your feed that go to a different domain. If it was us, agropost.com, and we were selling articles because we run e-commerce, it wouldn't make sense to have one article sending to my website.com or emerick.com. Let's say Emerick has his own domain. I'm going to put his article or his here. No, it doesn't make sense. It's not going to work with this new thing. So first of all, make sure all your articles, all your feed points to the same domain. And then you use just 1 pixel per catalog to optimize. Okay, some people have multiple pixels, 1 pixel for, remember, I'm talking about pixel, I'm not talking about event. You could have the purchase event, you could have the add to cart, you could have the initiate checkout, if that's necessary for you, but then just 1 pixel. I've seen that in some large e-commerce sites that have different pixels because different ad accounts, one ad account for per country or for different reasons. Facebook recommends to have 1 unique pixel, okay, for the whole catalog. If you have multiple catalogs, you could have multiple pixels. But that's Facebook's recommendation.
And those are such good points and good to know, Antonio. And kind of wrapping things up in just a fancy little holiday bow, is there anything else that community managers people that run ads, ad experts, or anyone needs to know or should do before the end of the year and once they come back to work after taking time off during the holidays, as soon as they return, to make sure just everything runs smoothly?
Well, the first thing they need to do is start thinking about those pixels or those events they need to decide on. Remember, per domain, yeah, they have different domains. You could have like different things, but one domain, 8 pixels. Okay, that's something important. No rush, because we still have a few weeks ahead, but don't leave it for next year, because one day out of the blue, Facebook will change this. The problem is not that you have not decided on the pixels. The problem is that if you are optimizing for one of those pixels that are not in the main 8, Facebook will stop running those ads. It's also important to tell people that Facebook still hasn't explained what's going to be the process. Facebook says this will be done in Business Manager, this will be done in that tool, but no one has actually seen a mock-up or the real buttons or menus or how these things are going to happen. They simply say that the Facebook administrator, the ad account administrator, is going to be the one deciding the conversions. Obviously, it's going to be the administrator. That's something we were all assuming. And again, you need to prioritize. You need to decide. You need to inform Facebook, this is going to be my main event, second event. That's the 8th most important event for me. So that's something that you should probably start considering. Also, another thing to do, many people get confused with technical stuff. So probably verifying your domain, it's something, it's not so complicated, but for some people, maybe necessary to rely on some help. Maybe you just need to get someone to go to your hosting, because maybe you're not technically skilled to put that code in your hosting. So those are a couple of things that are important. It wouldn't consume much of your time, but it's important to start working on that. And then probably rethink your whole strategy when it comes to attribution modeling, conversions, and so on. Again, like I said before, it's not critical, because if you're running ads, those conversions will still happen, but they won't be reported. So now it's the best time for you to start thinking what's going to happen, what are you going to do about it?
So I would say the best thing to do, if you still have some time if you still have some work days, I should say, before the holidays, just kind of look over everything and start prepping with all the tips that Antonio gave. And I know you all wish you had Antonio next to you that could help you with this, because he's brilliant. We're lucky to have Antonio. But I just want to say, Antonio, thank you for coming on here and helping work through this and explain this to everyone, so everyone's prepared, because we wanted to come on. We know it's Friday and, before holiday week, but we felt it was important to join and come on today. So even if you can't watch this live, you can revert back to it and you can get kind of everything mapped out and be prepped for this once it falls into place, which, it could happen at any time. It'll be fast, and you just want to know exactly what's going on and not be scrambling last minute. So I just have to say, Antonio, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so glad that you were able to, and it is almost 11 o'clock your time. And so we don't want to take up any more of your time. So I just want to say thank you so much. You're amazing. And you will probably be talking a lot more about this coming up in the next year. If you have questions, feel free to ask them. We're always here to help. And, we've got Antonio on our side. So if I don't know the answer, I've got Antonio. But Antonio, thank you so much. I love this. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Yes. Yes. Happy holidays. Happy